Hi, this is Kathy from Lady Stamp A Lot, and today I wanted to show you how to make this cute little box. It opens up like this, and it's big enough to hold 6 3x3 cards, maybe more, maybe less, depending on how much you embellish them when you make them. It could also hold a post-it note, tablet, a roll of ribbon would fit in there nicely, some glue dots, of course candy treats, a cookie, necklace, jewelry, anything that would make a nice little gift for somebody. So I'm going to stick the back in there and show you how I did it. So I started with a piece of 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 cardstock. This is mint macaron from Stampin' Up. I scored it already at 1 inch on all 4 sides. And then I'm going to just cut up on the score marks from the bottom and stopping at the cross score. And then you want to take a little wedge out of the flap. That just takes out some of the bulk when you go to fold your box up. So straight on the score, a tiny little wedge on the flap. And then you turn it this way, and you're going to do the same thing. Straight up the score line, a little wedge. Straight up the score line and a little wedge. Okay, and now what you want to do is fold on all of these score lines. And of course you could do this first, doesn't really matter, but you do want to get them nice and burnished so that the box will go together nicely. So take your bone folder and score on all of these lines. Okay, and then next I want to come in with my liquid glue and put the glue on the flaps, and then just fold that inside like that. Now I'm not going to go ahead, I'm not going to wait for that to, I'd have to hold that a little bit for it to dry. You could clip it, but I already have one done ahead of time, so we can save a little bit of time on that. Okay, then you want to take a piece of 10 1/4 by 3 3/4 cardstock. This is the same mint macaron. I scored it at 2 7/8, 4, 7 1/4, and 8 1/4. I also rounded off the corners with my corner rounder. All right, and then again, we're going to fold on those score lines. This is going to wrap around that little box we just made. And when you look at this piece, when you score it, one piece is a little bit wider before you get to the score mark than the other side, and that's going to be the top of the box. All right, so you're going to take the box that you just made, and you're going to glue it inside the center piece here. Now it's going to touch these score marks very, very closely, but you're going to have a little gap on either side here. So again, I'm going to use my liquid glue, put the glue on the bottom of the box. And again, when you use the liquid glue, it gives you some wiggle rooms to get the piece where you want it. And let me see if I can do this. Okay, so that's going to be there. And then I have a little gap here again, a little gap here. And you want to make sure you get that stuck down. Okay, so then the little, let's see how this goes. Yeah, the bigger flap is going to go over the top. Actually, like that. All right. So now for the top, I cut a piece of designer series paper. This is actually from the Garden Lane paper pack. Let me show you this really quick. This is all different kinds of greens. This is really, really pretty for backgrounds, or if you're doing leaves or something, instead of just using plain green, you have a nice print. It's called Garden Lane. That's in the 2019 to 2020 annual catalog from Stampin' Up. And so I took this little piece here, and it measures 3 1/4 by 2 1/2. And this time I'm going to go ahead and round the corners, but just the bottom 2 corners. So if your paper has some kind of one-way print, you want your rounded edges at the bottom. And I mean, you wouldn't have to round it, but it just looks a little bit nicer. And so this is just going to go right here on the front. And because it's not, oh, well, you know what? I didn't bring my snail with me, so I'm going to have to use my liquid glue here. Normally I would just use snail on this part, but it doesn't matter. All right. And again, you can use that to slide it into place anyway, so that's good. All right. Now the last thing is the little labels here, and I used the Stitched So Sweetly dies, and I used this die to cut out this. This is the mint macaron, and then this little one in the center is the white piece. And I actually did this ahead of time, and I actually stamped the For You first, because you can see it just fits in there, and this is a red rubber stamp, so you can't quite perfectly see where you're stamping. So I would recommend stamping and then cutting. The Stitch So Sweetly dies is bundled with the So Sentimental stamp set in the 2020 spring catalog. So this is where I got the For You right here. But this has a lot of nice sayings that fit inside the labels with that. So that's all you do, and that would just go here. I would pop that up with dimensionals, and I did add a little ribbon or a little baker's twine here on mine. And again, to close it, I found these Velcro fasteners at my Dollar Tree. So you get 20 in there, and what I do is I cut one apart, and I like to break them in a little bit like this, and then put them together, peel off one of the sides, and I'm not sure if it matters which is on the top or the bottom. If someone knows, let me know. But I just put it there on the top, press it, peel this off, and then be very careful when you close your box that you have this back edge and the front edge, and then just close it up. I rub it lightly, pull it apart carefully, and then I make sure I press this down really hard so that will stay. But if you play with the Velcro a little bit first, it usually doesn't have a problem of pulling away from the cardstock. So again, you would just finish it up with your labels. There you go. I hope you will give this a try, and thanks for stopping by.